Good morning. It's day 2 of my video challenge, and I want to talk to you about psychology. When I first decided to go to school for nursing, that was like completely out of my character. It was randomly, I was having my second child, Zachary, in the hospital, and I started thinking, wow, this would actually be a really fun job. I'm going to ask the next nurse who walks in how long she has to go to school to do this. And when the next nurse walked in, she told me I went to school for 2 years. And I ended up finding out that, it took me a lot longer than 2 years. The nursing program is 2 years, but there's almost about 2 years of generals before you're even in a 2 year nursing program. So the next semester, I ended up signing up after I had Zach. So my Zachary inspired me to be a nurse. And when I ended up doing the mom baby rotation in my program, I did not like it at all. And I'm not sure if it was just because my heart was too sensitive for some of the scenarios that I saw. I saw some really, really rough scenarios. I had imagined that the mom baby floor would be like all cute and cuddly babies and parents that are super happy to be starting a family. And I was paired up with a lot of families that weren't so excited, or maybe just some really, really tough situations and like trial by fire situations for parents that would have been tough, or just a single parent or an unwanted child. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to end up in prison if I stay working here, because I'm going to end up wanting to raise these children as my own. And I already have, at that time, I had three. And, so it was just like my heart was too sensitive for babies. And just being able to work in that day in and day out. But it was a really, really fun floor to work on sometimes, but also really tough. So I remember at that time thinking, do I just drop out of school and go for something completely different? Or do I just finish this out and use my degree for something else? And I ended up, I think that same semester, we also had a rotation in psych. And so we were on the St. Cloud Hospital psychiatric floor, and I just loved it. Like, it was, to me, I thought fun, because you actually got to talk to people and interact. And so when I graduated, I had a nursing professor named Pam Vosky. Oh my gosh, Pam, if you're ever listening to something that I do, I love you. I think you are amazing. I know we've reached out and talked a couple times in the last couple of years, and I just adore you. But Pam Foskey at Anoka Ramsey Community College in Cambridge had basically gone around and told people, once we were all graduating, what a person would be good at. And she was telling different people, like, oh, you'd be great in the ICU, you'd be great in this area, you'd be great in mom baby. And I'm like, Pam, help. Like, I need some direction here. I have no idea what I want to do. I went into this to be a mom baby nurse, and obviously you heard how that went. And she goes, Jamie, I know you love psych, but you're going to do well no matter where you go. And I was like, okay, Pam, not helpful. Like, I need some direction. I wanted someone to tell me where I would do well. And she just said, ultimately, you're going to get psych on every single floor, and or any single area in nursing. And she was right. She was absolutely right. No matter where you work, you're dealing with mental health or psychiatry. So, long story short, hospital world was never my jam, at least as an RN. I've never worked as a nurse practitioner in a hospital. But when I ended up completing my family nurse practitioner program and I worked in the clinic settings, I ended up working for a company in St. Paul called Marathon Health. Marathon Health was an employee health clinic that would be on site for a corporation, and we only took care of those employees. So the Marathon Health location that I worked for took care of the Johnson Brothers employees, and I loved it there. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Marathon was, when I was there, was headed by a CEO named Jerry Ford. Oh my gosh, if you ever get the chance to meet him, the guy I don't know how he remembers names or scenarios or whatever, but the man is just incredibly intelligent and also just incredibly personable and kind and makes you feel like you've been friends forever. So if you ever get a chance to interact with him, you're gonna love it. So I was working there, and one of the things that we would do there is called health coaching. And essentially, what people could do is they could come in and talk to you about their cholesterol numbers, if they wanted to work on diet and exercise, if they wanted to work on stress management, if they wanted to work on, managing and controlling their diabetes. We would help them do that. And what I started to notice is that every single person basically had like a coping thing that they were struggling with. So maybe they turned to food when they were stressed, or maybe they turned to alcohol, or they turned to shopping. Everyone had their vice. And the moment we started talking about it and how to make different lifestyle changes and handle things better, it ultimately started having like a snowball effect in their life to be able to help them either cut back on medications or to stop medications altogether. We called it graduating off of medications, and I saw it pretty frequently when people were committed to the process, but it wasn't something that happened overnight. It wasn't some magical thing that happened, or it was just literally working through stuff. And it got to the point where I was like, I enjoy doing the health coaching visits, which to me felt like counseling, more than doing someone's coming in with a cough, they're coming in and we're putting on, high blood pressure medications or the DOT physicals, which, all of that was great and I loved it. But the health coaching visits were my absolute favorite. So I decided, I'm like, okay, I have to go back to school and get my psychiatric nurse practitioner thing and just do those types of visits exclusively. So one of the things that I thought was kind of interesting when I did go to start my own practice, because I wasn't able to do psychiatric work exclusively through Marathon, so I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to go because they wouldn't be able to accommodate that. But so that was tough to leave. But I noticed that when I switched over to the mental health world, the same type of people who were coming in, which are just your everyday folks who were my typical clients, weren't necessarily seeking out mental health care. And I always found that so fascinating, because when people would reach out and say, hey, where are you at now? And then I'd let them know, yep, I'm doing mental health. And they're like, oh, I don't need your services anymore. And I was like, what? Like, in my opinion, I believed everyone could benefit from mental health services. And I think that if people wait for a crisis to happen, you've waited too long. In a perfect world, if I could create a scenario for the mental health world, or just the world in general, we currently have annual physicals for physical health where, they listen to your heart, they listen to your lungs, they, sometimes they're doing blood work. I would love if insurance or just healthcare in general covered a mental health physical, because this way we could help people understand what they have going for them, strength-wise, and what areas of opportunities they have for working a certain muscle mentally, or things they could be doing, because life doesn't come with instructions. So how would anyone expect to know what they're doing well that's contributing to some of the success that they're having in life and in their relationships, and what they're doing that's actually contributing to some of the things that's making life tougher? So I just think it would be amazing, and to be able to have that, or not to say that everyone in the world needs weekly counseling and not everyone in the world needs a medication, but I would say that a lot of people would benefit from at least an annual physical for mental health. So the other thing that I've noticed is that working in mental health, I have become fascinated by a certain thing. I would say every single patient, if I'm given the opportunity to work with them more than, 1 or 2 times, all of a sudden something will start to emerge. I'll notice that there's something different about them that doesn't line up with psychology. Like they'll have a skill, or they'll have like a behavior, or they'll have something that's absolutely amazing and mind-blowing that doesn't line up with what psychology says that they should be able to do. And to me, I'm like, oh my gosh. Like at first I used to think, this is crazy. Like this person has this skill or this aspect of them that's unique. And then I started realizing that when people were open to chatting and just opening up and feeling comfortable talking to me, I started realizing everyone has this. So now I'm like literally curious with people, and a lot of the times I would say they don't even recognize that it's a gift, or they don't recognize that it's normal, or like not normal, or but it's amazing. So it's always exciting to me when I'm able to talk to someone and I see that, and I'm like, okay, you realize that that's not normal. And they're like, what? And I'm like, this is mind-blowing. This is what psychology says should be happening. This is the normal response for human behavior. And then now you're doing this. You have to realize like how awesome that is. So that just lights me up. I love when I'm able to find that in a person. So but obviously sometimes when it can take a little bit, because when people are reaching out to me, sometimes it is almost crisis situation, or they have been waiting for a while to be able to start talking through some of the things to get to the point where we can recognize that gift. So anyways, I'm going to wrap that up here. And I hope everyone has a great day, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye.